Okay, it is testimony time. I've been skeptical about recording this, more so because my mom. But you know what? Cat's out the bag and let's get this thing going. Okay, so let's go back to the very beginning. I grew up in the church before I was even born. So how that happens is my parents were very high up in our first church, so the church that I was born into, I guess, and spent the first like 8 years of my life. I guess they were like considered elders. My mom was on the worship team, played the piano. She was the main translator for the main congregation. They had an office at the church. My dad did offerings, helped out a bunch of, just did a lot of behind the scenes things, so very involved. As you guys may or may not know, my mom was not pregnant with me until she was 42. So when she got pregnant, it was like a church-wide miracle. So everyone knew who I was before I was even born. And when I was pregnant, everyone was like, oh my God, Louisa's pregnant. This is a miracle baby, all the things. So as you can imagine, when I was born and then leading up to growing up, I wasn't necessarily like a PK, but it was dang near. And also, you know, growing up in a tradition, my parents aren't super traditional Asian. I grew up on like bagel bites and frozen Costco foods, you know, I don't really use chopsticks well. So my parents are pretty Americanized. So it wasn't an extremely traditional Asian household, but it had a lot of just Asian flair in a sense of like, do well in school, play the piano, like focus on this. And it's not a lot of relationship building and kind of like, how's your day today? Let's be friends and talk about friend, mom, daughter things. It's not like that. It's just like kind of like a transactional relationship. And so being Asian, growing up in an Asian transactional household, having parents substantially older than you, and then also not a PK but close to a PK, everything was just so strict. Like everything was strict. I wasn't allowed to sleep over. I could maybe host a sleepover, but like my mom was like, it's 8:45, it's 9 o'clock, everyone needs to go to bed. Like if she hears a peep, like she'll come in and pull me out of my room. I had to sleep elsewhere, like so dumb. And I was that kid who went to church a million times a week and then had to stay late because my mom had to lock up the church. And you know, I was thrown into a lot of church things and kind of just, it was just all I knew, you know what I mean? I never really questioned it, I guess, but I was just like, okay, yeah, church. And you know, I grew up and I liked church. I had a lot of church friends. I thought church was fun. Again, it was just kind of in my DNA. So then we ended up switching churches, and both churches were very Asian. First one was like Chinese, and then the second one was like half Korean, half Chinese. And I guess that's when it kind of just became like almost too strict. And I had never fallen off my train of faith in terms of, you know, I never disliked God or was ever angry or anything. But I think it was more of the rebellious phase that I really went through because, again, like my parents were so strict, and then like my aunt wouldn't even let me say gosh or whatever. And I was like a child, literally a child. I remember saying gosh once and like I got grounded for it. It was just, you know, but my aunt was actually a pastor's wife and they grew up in the Midwest, so I'm sure things are a little bit more like cookie cutter and strict out there. Anyways, so it wasn't that I never stopped loving Jesus. It was just, I was just kind of like over church, you know. It was shoved down my throat. And our new church, we did early morning prayer, which a lot of churches do, but you know, kind of forcing a kid at a young age to wake up at 4 in the morning every morning, kind of against her will, like she's tired, whatever, to do early morning prayer. It's tough. Now, I mean, waking up at 4 is still hard for me, but like I understand why that was a thing. You know, Jesus did that every morning. My parents still do that now. I still like am down to wake up early just to read the word and pray. I'm so on board. But again, as a kid, unwillingly just being told like, you have to do this, you have to do that, it gets taxing after 12, 13, 14 years of your whole life is consumed with church and then strict parents, and then you can't do anything, you can't go out, whatever. So when high school came around, more like sophomore, junior year, y'all, I got so good at like sneaking out, sneaking around. I had the earliest curfew in the entire world, and so I would come home, wait for my parents to like fall asleep, go back out. Like, I was a bad kid, and I got away with it. I mean, till this day, my mom still has no idea. She might watch this, she might not. I'm so sorry, Mom, but you know what, it is what it is. Well, let's just say, okay, well, again, like, I was partying at college for 3 to 4 nights a week, getting completely blacked out, like crazy. I don't even know, like what were we doing with our lives? Literally, I don't know. And then in high school, I would sneak out all the time on the weekends. I would literally like take my hair extensions, put them on my pillow, and then like put a pillow on top of my pillow and make it act like there's a head there and cover it. Like, I was so good. Like, I was so good. And I don't even know how my parents never caught me. Like, I really perfected it. I would come home and like pretend I was brushing my teeth, like close open the drawers, like literally made it sound like I was going to bed, and I would just like sneak back out like 30 minutes when I knew that they were falling asleep. And I like was so into raves, like, and I'm not saying like raves are a bad thing, you know what I mean? I mean, I worked in the music and EDM industry for a while. I was a writer and like for a website and VP of admin for this website. So like, I was exposed to a lot, you know. We had a lot of friends who were DJs. I hung out with a lot of DJs all the time. And we just had access to things that a lot of normal people didn't have access to. And so it was just a very crazy lifestyle. The music industry is just a whole other world. And just, you know, it's my mom would literally be so scared. And I just, you know, I would go to church hungover sometimes. Like, I just wasn't invested. Again, everything was very much just like, this is what you do and this is why we do it, so behave and whatever. So I never developed that relationship, one-on-one actual relationship with God. It was kind of just like, you go to church, you obey the rules and whatevs. So yeah, that relationship wasn't there. But again, I never doubted God. I always believed in God. I would see other kids and they love church on a different level, and I just never understood why. And I was sad because I wanted that, you know, but I just never knew how to get there. And honestly, I thought I was doomed. I was like, I'm just doomed for this path of a PK. And not that all PKs are bad, you know, but I have family members who are PKs. I have a lot of friends who are PKs, and they've all gone down similar paths. Granted, there are some PKs who have grown up phenomenal and, you know, like whatever they did, it just worked for them, and they've been like the best kids, never once, you know, doing anything bad or things, you know, behind their parents' backs or anything. But yeah, so I went to college. I went to Arizona. Arizona is obviously a party school. But I was stoked. I was like, I am free, you know, and I had plans on going to church, but again, I was just so burnt out and I didn't really care. So I would do random devotions. I would still read the Bible. I was like still praying, still reading the Bible, but I just had no desire to go to church. I was just so over the judgment and rules, and I wanted to go out and have freedom because I didn't have a taste of that for a long time. I was just so tired of like going behind my parents' back and hiding a bunch of things, and I just didn't want to be judged, you know, because it's like, I want to experience life still. And so yeah, college came. I barely went to church, didn't care for it, didn't want to go at all. When I came back home for holidays, hated going to church. I was just like, it was such a drag. Sometimes I would enjoy it if like I enjoyed the sermon, but also the second church we went to, it was so small, like micro. I'm talking like 30 people maximum. Everyone knew everyone's business, and it wasn't like a loving, type of church. It was just more instilling fear. So I was over it. I just didn't care. And I was so checked out. I never lost the sight of faith. I never lost, again, my love for God. It was always there. And even when I would go like long, like months, maybe without even reading the Bible, there's always something in deep inside my heart being like, hey, don't forget about me. You know, I always had this voice in the back of my head, and I always had this spirit of discernment for sure. You know, even though I was like a rebellious kid, I wasn't a bad kid. I wasn't stupid. I didn't get into trouble. Like, I knew where to draw the line. I was so smart about my reckless behavior, if that makes sense. But yeah, so then I moved back after college. And in college, you guys, I was going to Vegas all the time, like going out 3-4 times a week. We're in Arizona. It's a party school. That's what it is. I was in Greek life. I went balls to the walls. I literally didn't care. And then so I moved back home, and I was still going to the same church, but I was just like, oh, this cannot be it for me. I see so many people so plugged into faith and happy, joyful, like I love going to church way, and I wasn't, and I was like, I'm doomed. This is gonna be my life, and I'm never gonna make that progress. And I tried really hard doing certain things. You know, I stopped drinking for like 6 months, like really made it a vow to myself to like clean up my act. Things got better, but still I didn't have that community, and I didn't have that passion for Christ. I think my passion came more out of fear, because again, my church was more fear-based than it was grace, forgiveness, and love-based. So I met one of Tyler's friends, who ended up kind of being the vessel of me and Tyler meeting. And long story boring, if you guys don't know how me and Tyler met, I have a Q&A for that in another YouTube video, and so you can watch it there. But after me and Tyler had met, I just knew right away that there was something really special about this guy. And he went to a Christian college in San Diego, a small private Christian college. And him and I were in the same boat, in a sense that when we came back from college, we were definitely the holy rollers of our group, if not the only holy rollers of our group, as in like the only ones who had any sense of faith or belief in Christ. And we were like searching for a church that we could, you know, relate to and love and get plugged into. But one, I just didn't want to do it by myself. And two, I didn't even know where to look, because I've only been to 2 churches. Not that I was over Asian congregations, but there's just so much drama that happened in the 2 churches that I grew up in, that I was almost kind of scarred, and just kind of seeing the way people act. And I know it's not a race thing, because I'm sure it happens in so many other churches as well. But again, that's just all I knew. I am Asian myself. I know there are certain characteristics tied to Asians, how they deal with things and behavioral and whatever, blah, blah, blah. Anyways. So I was absolutely clueless. And I also live in a relatively Asian populated city, so I literally was just lost. So then me and Tyler, a lot of our talks when we were first just friends, but we would get into really serious Christ talks. And long story boring, he brought me to Rock Harbor, and it was a church that he would go to here and there when he was back home from college, because a lot of college kids and his classmates would go there that were from Orange County. And so he brought me there, and I fell in love. Like, I fell in love. I knew this is it. This is my place. And so fast forward another few months, me and Tyler ended up breaking up for a little bit. I really had to clear my headspace. I was coming from a very toxic past relationship. I had a lot of baggage, and it was just, there's so many factors to it, not just like me and him, but like friends were getting involved, and it was just a really bad time in my life. So I had to really clear the air. So I broke it off with him, and it was probably the most depressing 4 weeks of my entire life. It felt like someone died. Tyler was the only person I really thought had understood me, you know, out of everyone. Like, he knew me too. He knew my core. We had the same values. We had the same morals. We had the same struggles. And I was never able to share that with anyone. And I just remember one morning I was crying, like weeping. I had never wept like that out of such agonizing pain. I physically felt heartaches, and I was weeping, just like I don't know what to do, because I kind of dug myself in this weird, awkward situation, and it just like, it was one of those where it's like, I don't even know what's gonna come of it, and I can't do anything about it, and I just kind of effed myself in a way. And I felt this warm hand. I just got the goosebumps right now thinking about it. I felt this warm hand press firmly against my chest, like over my heart. And as I was crying, my mouth literally spoke the words, "I am here, you will be okay." And that was my first encounter with God. And a lot of people, okay, so break. We also learn in church, like not everyone in their lifetime is gonna have that kind of supernatural encounter with God. You know, God speaks to us in so many different ways, but that was mine. And I may or may not experience that ever again. Some people experience it a couple times, maybe only once in their lifetime. Some people experience it never. But that was my experience, and that was what really snapped me back. I was like, holy crap, you know, I knew God was always there, but I guess, you know, just kind of from the practices of my old church, like I didn't know how to engage that relationship. I just prayed and hoped that God would, you know, grant my prayers if I was a good kid and like if I behaved well and stuff like that. But I was like, well, I'm not behaving well, so like why would God care? And it was that moment that really just put everything into perspective, and I was like, holy crap, like as bad as I have been, you know, God took time out of his busy day of billions of prayers being prayed to him at once, all day, every day, 24/7. He came to me and he literally was like, girl, I got you. And that, oh, I'm getting emotional. That really made me feel so special. So after that moment, oh my God, hold on. So after that moment, I jumped fully. I went balls deep. I probably should not be saying that term. I went full in 1,000 miles an hour, just like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna kick my butt into shape. I'm really gonna dive deep and just like figure out how to do this the right way. Not that there is a right way, but like, you know, the way that I want to really pursue it. So me and Tyler still weren't talking, but I bought a lot of books. I started reading devotionals every day, and I would read multiple a day. I was reading the Bible a lot. If you guys are having trouble reading the Bible, I always just kind of encourage my friends just to start in the New Testament. Just start with the book of Matthew. So I delved deep into that, and I started going to Rock Harbor by myself. I just knew I needed it, and my church wasn't fulfilling my cup at the time, and so I was kind of going back and forth. I did our church in the morning, and then I did Rock Harbor at night. Also, the reason why I couldn't really leave my old church was, one, my mom was like the second-hand man to our pastor, and he, for a while, kind of became like my grandpa, like my second grandpa. And two, I was a part of the worship team. I played the drums, I played the piano, and there was only 3 of us, 1 piano player, 1 drum player, and 1 guitar player, and we kind of like switched, so I couldn't just not be there. So that's why I wasn't just like, bye mom, going to Rock Harbor. Anyways, so then I went to Rock Harbor, and that night that I wasn't gonna go at first because I was like, oh, like I'm scared to go to church by myself. Like you always want like a companion, you know, but I was like, screw it. It's something was telling me, obviously it was God telling me to just go. And when I went, that's how it happens, you know, when you are pulled to go to church, when you aren't going to church as much, the message, the worship, everything just hits so on point for you. And that was it for me that night. And that's another wave of just like God being like, look, I'm here with you right now. I'm gonna walk you through everything. And so again, like during those weeks, it was really hard because Tyler wasn't speaking to me. I knew he wanted to, but a lot of our friends were telling him like, no, you know, like make her pay for breaking up with you and da da da. It was so dumb, but I knew deep down like he really wanted to talk to me because he's not, I knew his heart. We finally sat down, we talked and, you know, hashed everything out and then decided to try again. But yeah, ever since then, there's just been so many things that me and Tyler have walked through that we really would not have had such a positive outlook or such a calm reaction if we did not have God in our life. You know, we almost moved to San Diego and he was applying to San Diego PD at the time down there, their Harbor PD, and he literally got to the very end of the process. And then we were looking for spots, like so down to move, and everyone was like, oh my God, you guys he's gonna get it, no question. So like in our mind, we were there, we were already there. And then it just got cut. And I know this probably doesn't sound as dramatic or important, but for us at the time, right before the wedding, we really needed a definitive plan of like where our life was gonna be after the wedding, and we were going to be married in just a few months. And so that was very hard for us to stomach. And most people would be like, what the F, you know, we prayed on this, we thought we had it in the bag and all these things. And a lot of people would have been mad at God or angry or just like, why? But we had this overwhelming calming sense over us. Just, this is not me closing the door. This is a detour. Like everything happens for a reason. We literally were not angry. We were a little bit bummed out, but we're like, okay, God's protecting us, you know? And I mean, long story boring, it worked out perfectly. Like everything where Tyler is now, and I can go on and like tie all the loose ends. It literally would take hours, but it just, it's mind-blowing. And if you just put your trust into him and fully let go, which is also so hard for me because I used to be the most type A, hands-on, schedule is planned down to the minute. If it doesn't go how I planned, I freak out, even though it's not a big deal. But I was just that person, like crazy, just crazy to like, whatever, like, hey, you know. And I take life day by day now. I don't have really a 5-year plan because it doesn't even matter, because I had a plan for myself 3 months down the line and look where that, it just went to trash. So it really was God just being like, I'm in control, you know, and not in a bad way, but I know what's best for you and I will guide you there. And along the way, you're gonna understand why, because I'm gonna teach you more lessons that prepare you for like where I want to, what is this? Oh, I think these are my tears, I don't know. But you know, there's always a purpose in it. But I found my way back, you know, and it's just like that prodigal son story where no matter how far you fall and you go away, like if you want to come back, God is waiting for you. He's actually so happy because he won't be ashamed of you coming back. He will be so happy because he's like, yay, welcome home, you know. He'd rather have you come back after leaving and doing everything you do than just you never coming back at all. He will always pursue you. He will always, even if he has 99 of his sheep, if one is lost, he is going to do everything in his power to get that one sheep and bring him back. And I mean, you know, and am I perfect now? I'm not, you know, but my relationship with God is so much more different. I look forward to church every Sunday more than anything, literally more than anything. I love church so much. And I get it now, you know, I'm there, my cup is filled, I'm there to learn. It's not just, I never feel out of place. And I think that's why that's what Rock Harbor really did to me and for me. It really let me learn God's grace and that, you know, God will still love you and pursue you. Granted, you know, don't make the same dumb, really gnarly mistake over and over and over again and be like, oh yeah, it's fine, God's just gonna forgive me and we'll be good. But you know, it just, I learned a different side of God and of God's love. And I think that's why now it's like I want to show everyone, because I don't feel like I shove it down people's throats, and you know, I love sharing things. And a lot of these lessons that I learned, they're not just strictly lessons for Christians. They're just things that you can take away for everyday life. You know, it's the way you approach hard situations. It's your attitude with people. It's how you treat strangers. It's how you treat people who aren't of the same background, political view, sexual orientation as you. It's just, it's crazy, but that's why I love it, because I have gained not only the understanding of God's love, but I have so much of it now that I just want to give it to everyone else, whether they're a Christian or not. It doesn't matter. Nothing bothers me. It's just, you know, God created everyone and God loves everyone, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm just here to help people figure, if they want to come to Christ, they you know, awesome, amazing. If they don't, I'm also not going to force them, you know, but I just want to be a vessel, and I want people to have that same fire and love for church, and like excitement for church and excitement for Jesus as I do. And I never thought in a million years I would be sitting here talking about this. I finally get all these things that like my mom has been instilling in me, and you know, it also has brought her and my relationship so much closer. We were never close growing up. We honestly weren't even close, or got close, until after my wedding, honestly, like 2 years ago. So yeah, so God has really just worked so heavily in my life. Now have and understand my purpose, I guess. If you guys don't know, but like my whole blogging journey, I kind of did it. I didn't choose to be a blogger. It was more, it happened on accident. And I don't have this dire passion of knowing that this is going to be my end career. Blogging is definitely just, I think, a bridge. And now, as I'm getting to where I am, I kind of see where it's leading me to. And a lot of prophets and pastors have prayed over me, and you know, they've said, or at least told my parents, you know, this baby that you're about to have, you know, a lot of doctors have told you to abort her or whatever, or you know, have said that she's going to be born with really gnarly mental illnesses because of how old you are, but they were like, no, she's going to be healthy, and she is going to be a miracle baby, and she is going to like just rock out, and God's gonna use her. And I always was just like, what? And I was told that a lot growing up too, but again, in one ear out the other. And I see it now. I get it, because I'm here and I understand, and those words I'm living those words out now. And it's just, it's so amazing to see, because I would have never foresaw this. Again, like this whole blogging thing, I had no intent. I was working in sports, you know, this was just like a do thing for me to kill time, because I was so bored in between looking for jobs. It's not my end goal. I mean, I have so many things I want to do. I want to work within the incarcerated ministry. I want to do incarceration ministry work. I love volunteering. Rock Harbor has a relationship with this church in Watts in LA called Powerhouse, and we love volunteering there. I've done a couple things and donations for a lot of the women there who just don't have access to nice things, or even just like everyday like skincare, normal things, and just giving back. And like there's just so many things I want to do even within the blogging community. Like later on this year, I would love to host some sort of event for girls to come to. Faith isn't spoken about a lot on social media, especially Instagram, especially via bloggers. I think a lot of girls just fear that they're gonna lose followers, but to me, that literally doesn't matter at all. God is in control of my follower count, and if he wants me to lose followers, I'm gonna lose followers. If he wants me to gain, I'm gonna gain. It doesn't even bother me anymore. But there is a population that really is craving it. I get so many messages daily about like how it's helped girls, and how girls are wanting to go to church, or like wanting to meet more other bloggers, or like even non-bloggers in this area who just want to connect, want to talk about their walk and how they can get tips and accountability, and just strengthening and encouraging women, you know, women in faith. And if you guys also didn't know, when me and Tyler, after we started dating, we made a vow to each other that we would just wait till marriage. I was not a virgin, and neither was he, but when we met each other, we're like, hey, okay, let's just do this the right way. And, you know, we may not have met each other under perfect circumstances, but we can try and just save ourselves and do it the right way until we got married. And that was something that we really loved doing and stuck to and pride ourselves on, despite how many people made fun of us and cracked jokes at us for it. But it was something that's really important to us, you know. So even just being able to instill that into girls who want to do it but feel like they'll be made fun of or like feel weird or not worthy, we have all sinned, and we're so much more alike than we think. I'm not here to drive a wedge and be like, look, I'm the blogger influencer, I'm gonna sit up here on my high holy throne, and then these girls down here, you're just like, be influenced by me. Like, that is absolutely not what I'm here to do. I've never had that intent, and I think that is just so dumb too, because influencing is definitely a two-way street. I get influenced by so many of my followers because I am influenced to continue talking about my faith because girls want it and need it and love it, you know? So I think without the feedback, I probably wouldn't have pushed it as much as I do now, having it been, I didn't know that there was such a craving for it. So again, I thank you guys. I really do. I love you guys and I adore you guys so much. And yeah, I don't know if I blabbed too long on this and if it even made any sense, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I love you all, and Jesus loves you too. And yeah, okay.